Alrighty, so this ancient beer recipe I have found calls for all the following. The first day we're using corn sugar, millet flour, and this would be barley flour, and of course active yeast. For the second process, this ancient recipe calls for 3 pounds of honey, malt extract, anise seed, licorice root, and this is the wine yeast. And of course, back in the day, hops was unknown to the Mediterranean, and this is why we're using the root and the seeds, because this is what was available to them to make the beer. First steps first, we're going to make our own mesh. We have 1 cup of the corn syrup and we have a whole pound of millet flour, and we mix those together all in one pot. Okay, next we have the barley. 1 pound of barley flour goes in another separate pot, because we're going to bake this later on so that we can crush it up and let it ferment. And we need another cup of the corn sugar to mix with this. Alright, after this, we're going to add some baker's yeast, this right here, what we got right here. And we're going to mix that in with both of these. Yes, so that way when we bake it, it's going to rise a little bit, and that's what that's for. And we can't get the thing open. Get the thing open, Jennifer. We're going to use some scissors. There we go. We're going to get another thing of baker's yeast over here. Put some. We got this going in there. Then we got another one going over here for this, and we're going to mix it all together. We'll go ahead and mix this up. Nice and mixed up. Alright, we'll mix this up. Alright, after this, we're going to add some water. We've got to get some distilled water because we don't want no antibacterial getting in here and somebody getting sick, Mr. Sattler. Just kidding, because I'm going to drink it too and I don't want to get sick. Alright, after this process, we're going to mix in water, fairly just enough to make it just thin and pourable. You don't want it too thick, you don't want it too runny. So what we're going to do is just kind of pour it in there and eyeball it, because it doesn't say exactly how much. You just need it to be pourable. Alright, so let's try and see how much this is going to do. Mixing it up all nice and good. Alright, there we go. Let's see what happens. This looks like, I don't even know. Well, it looks like that might work. What was that, 2 cups?
Yep.
For further reference, we're using 2 cups of this stuff. And it stinks, by the way. Just letting you guys in on the feel of all this. Alright, let's get it all mixed up. I think that's pretty good. We're going to do, I guess we'll try 2 cups with the next one. If we need more, then we'll just add a little bit more. Alright, here goes the second process. We're going to pour about the same amount in here just to see how it's going to do. If we need more, we'll pour more in there. If not, then we're just going to let it do what it does. Do what it does. This is more like sand, because the barley is like, it's not like the other flour. This is more like sand. And I think that looks good. Maybe a little bit more water because it needs to be pourable. There we go. That's much better. It's hard to stir with one hand, you guys. Alright, there we go. We're ready to rock. After sitting overnight, this is what we got going on. We got some mesh that's done rose up and everything. This is done like soaked up and got all juicy and socky and sobby. Now we're going to put it in some pans. We're going to put one in each and we're going to bake it up in the oven. And then after that, we're going to put 2 gallons of water in this big old tub right here. And then we're going to get to cooking. Alright, we've done transferred all this mesh and stuff into 2 pans, and we're going to cook it in the oven at about 350 just so we can watch it and make sure it doesn't burn or anything. And while that's cooking, we're going to start our pot of water, 2 gallons of water right over here, and then we'll proceed to cook this in the water. Alright, here we go. We got our finished product. This is the millet flour and the corn sugar mixed with yeast. We cut it up into bread-sized pieces. Now we're going to toast it, because after we toast it, we're going to throw it in this pot of water over here and cook it up some more. Alrighty, it's crunch time. Crunching all this stuff up into the barley and the millet flour. Crunching all this up into the 2 gallons of water, and we're going to let this boil and then come to room temperature, and we're going to let it sit overnight and see how that does. Oh. Alright, so now we're going through the process of just straining this mesh that we made, and it's been sitting for probably about 8 hours right now. And I looked up a video and it said that you didn't really need to like squeeze it, because enough is going to come out and it's going to be so potent that that's all you're going to need. You're not going to need to strain it no more than this. So we'll do this until we get all the mesh done, and then go on to the next of mixing in the malt extract and the anise seed and licorice and all that. Okay, so we've strained all of the bread mesh, and this was the end result. We got a good consistency. This is just water, see? Alright, and this is all the flavors of the bread and everything, and the yeast that's done came out, and we're going to let this boil for 45 minutes, and we're going to also put in the honey, the anise seed, half an ounce of licorice root, and the malt extract. We're going to let that boil, and then afterwards we're pouring it in 3.5 gallons of water, which will boil too, and it'll be ready to sit, pitch, ferment, and prime. Yeah, priming is after it's done all got together, and we're going to put the wine yeast in it. Wine yeast, that's priming it right there, right? No, pitching it. This is pitching it when you put the wine in there. Alright, we have the anise seed right here. It calls for half an ounce, but the guy at the brewing store said that he would only do 1/4 of an ounce, so that's what we're doing. We're going to add that in there while it's boiling, and then he said about half an ounce of the licorice root. That's what the recipe called for that I found online. This is an Egyptian recipe exactly. That's about half right there, and we're going to do some honey too. Check that out. And the malt extract. Here goes the honey. It's going to be sweet, but I think the licorice root is supposed to actually cancel that out. Alright. And 3 pounds of honey. Pure sugar. Okay, so we transferred it all into this big pot because it was not all going to fit in this little bitty pot. And man, I wish you guys could smell it, because it smells like straight beer. It's awesome. It's the best smell in the world. Alright, we're going to let this boil for 45 minutes, and then we're going to transfer it into 3.5 gallons of water, and we're going to pitch and ferment it, and it'll be ready to go.